Welcome into Real Deal Sports Talk with me, KP. It's Saturday morning. It's December 3rd. It's the first show we got going on in December. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us. It is championship week in college football. We have a high school athlete who made 98 saves. We got a true sign of sportsmanship in high school athletics. We got coaches of the year, gifts being given, players going down, a lot of stuff to talk about today, maybe teams moving, and the effect NFL refs can have on a game. Let's just face it. It's an issue that needs to be addressed, and we're going to try and address it this week. But, again, it's Saturday. It's early. We're waking up. We're getting breakfast going, getting going for our day. Some of you early risers are taking a break right now. Again, thanks for taking time to join me, listen in. Appreciate it. All love. Sending a shout out to Mama Johnson. Mama Johnson lost a mom last night. I call her Mama Johnson. Mama Johnson is the mother of my best friend, my brother growing up, Tristan Johnson. And she was like a second mom to me. And she lost a loved one last night, so all of my thoughts, all of my family's thoughts and condolences go to the Johnson family right now. You've meant a great deal to my life, and I care a great deal about you guys. All right, with that being said, anybody get a chance to watch that Vikings-Cowboys game? I watched it. I hope you guys got to watch it. Minnesota played better than a lot of people thought they would based on how they've been playing. And I have to say it was a good game. There were definitely parts of the game that weren't that good. Minnesota's offense, you can't have an offense play like that and expect to win ball games. That's similar to what Denver's doing right now. Their defense is doing as much as they can, but the offense isn't doing much. We'll see if that changes as Paxton Lynch is supposed to be playing this week. But you saw a Vikings team that basically controlled that game in the first half. Now, there was some calls here and there that didn't go their way or didn't go the Cowboys' way that could have affected it. That big long run Zeke had. But that defense got pressure. They used their speed. They got around that strong offensive line in the first half. And the offense just couldn't convert on any of their scoring opportunities, coming away with field goals every time. And you can't come away with field goals when you're playing one of the better teams. That's just not how it works when you play a good team. If you get an opportunity to score, you have to take advantage of it. Otherwise, it could come back to bite you. And that is exactly what happened. Because this is a Cowboys team now before that game. All right, let's get into it. We got college football weekend. It's what we're doing this week. Let's welcome in Chris Rupert for the DC 3PO College Football Kickoff. How you doing this morning, Chris?
Doing well. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for joining us this week. It's a big week in college football for sure, with all the championship games and things that are taking place this week. Some have been played, some haven't. But let's start off. This is one that I've been wanting to talk to you about since the word came out. The LSU coaching hire of Ed Orgeron. It seemed like, based on media reports, that he might have been their third choice. Herman and Jimbo Fisher. I personally think they should have gone with Ed Orgeron the whole time. What's to come for LSU in this program?
Well, what actually happened was Jimbo Fisher was used as a ploy to negotiate with Tom Herman so that nobody else thought that he was actually the target. So when Jimbo was talking about he's never been approached and this and that, he was right. But he did say in the discussion earlier about, he said he wanted something like $10 million a year, and that just wasn't going to happen.
Right.
We had already spurned LSU last year, and when he probably had his best moment or reason to probably leave Florida State, But yeah, he was not really a serious a candidate. He was a ploy to actually discuss with Tom Herman. And the issue with Tom Herman, watching the A&M Thanksgiving game, which once again LSU 5-0 against the Aggies, so it's always a good day.
There you go.
The instance was Herman really wanted Texas, and Herman said he wanted $8 million a year for a second-year head coach. And that Friday morning, his agent and his camp are the ones who leaked out the report, which really aggravated and angered LSU. And from that standpoint, it kind of went to the degree of LSU saying, well, listen, we're not waiting for you. You either want to or you don't. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, I still want to wait for Texas, because that's the reason why the Herman camp released that information, is because Texas wasn't even paying attention.
Right.
And they were making the claim that they wanted, Charlie Strong. Now, Orgeron wasn't necessarily the first choice, but clearly with what happened, and more importantly, I think for a lot of people, especially in Louisiana, and that he's only the second head coach that's from Louisiana in the country, and the other one is Frank Wilson, who used to be on Les Miles' staff. That's I think at UT Texas San Antonio. And so that's a big thing for them down there. He understands the school, he understands the culture, he understands exactly what everything means. And truly, when you're looking at down the road, it's not like LSU's not going to have talent if Orgeron fails. It's not like LSU won't still be a job for a coach to want to come and win. The problem's always going to be, well, what kind of man are you to challenge Alabama and Nick Saban? Herman's got his dreams out of Texas. Herman's got a much easier path. He's got a much deeper talent pool. But here's the problem. I don't think Herman is he a good coach? I'm sure he is, but when you're taking a program like LSU, I mean, Alabama sure as heck wouldn't take Tom Herman if Nick Saban left.
Right.
So Texas is a dying program, in my opinion. A&M is in the SEC. If Lane Kiffin goes to Houston or Les Miles goes to Houston, which are different issues, there's just not enough in Texas, for Texas, in the chaos that the boosters and that program is. I mean, that'd be a nightmare to work there.
Yeah, that's how it is
to me. I'm happy that Coach L is there. I think the biggest coaching hire or the biggest recruiting is still Dave Aranda, and even though he's offered the contract for defensive coordinator, he still hasn't signed. But that's the biggest key. Get Dave Aranda. I'm not sure about Lane Kiffin. I'd rather have Major Applewhite as the offensive coordinator. But either way, I'm excited. I can't wait to see the bowl game. I can't wait to see next year, to see how that plays out. To see if Coach O really has learned his lessons from the last time he was in this position. But either way, the entire state, the entire program of LSU football, a lot of people are more energized than they have been in a long time. And they've got a lot. They've got something they don't think they've had for a while, which is hope, which is the same thing that, for CU.
Yeah, definitely. Hope is a big thing, especially for the fan side. And I think this pick of Orgeron definitely gives them hope. The fans definitely got behind him. You saw the team get behind him. So I like it. I like when there's consistency. I like that he has experience there in the SEC. And really, I like the idea of Applewhite coming on as the offensive coordinator. That's one I really hadn't put a lot of thought into, or a name I really hadn't heard yet. But that one is interesting. I would like that more than Lane Kiffin also. And you touched on Herman going to Texas. It seems like they're letting the fans run the asylum there. I agree. It seems like a dying program. Herman, sure, it was exciting down there at Houston in his time, but they were up and down. They could beat a top 5 team, a top 10 team, and then lose to somebody who wasn't in the top 50 the next week. So I don't know. I agree with you. I don't know what Texas is going to do looking forward. There's not enough there in the state with the other programs that are building up the way they have been over the recent years. And I don't know really if Charlie Strong even really deserved to be let go. Sure.
Well, I think his record said he needed to, and granted, there's a lot of the peripherals that, you know, who's this and what and that, and that may have contributed to those games and things like that. But I mean, I think it was doomed from the start when you had boosters saying he's not our coach.
Right.
You know, we're not going to support him. We didn't want him. So I mean, it was a doomed thing. But I think based on record and performance, yeah, he had to go. I mean, in any program, in that 3-year stretch, and the way that this year broke down, especially after the way you beat Notre Dame, which turned out to not be a good team either.
Right.
And then to lose to Cal, which isn't a good team either. And then the way Kansas, that can't happen if you're Texas ever.
Right. Yeah, that was a bad one. He definitely had more bad wins than he had, or bad losses than he had any kind of even good win in his time in Texas. Just seems like sometimes some of these coaches, if you were to give them maybe up to 5 years to get their program really going, get enough guys in, maybe get some of the upperclassmen who were under the last regime out the door, you might see something. But like you said, he didn't have the support when they hired him. It was a controversial hire when he got the job. Nobody understood how he got it at the time. And hey, now he's, I guess, free to move on to something else maybe. Maybe he'll get another shot somewhere else.
Yeah, I think he will, because Texas is such an arrogant program that's so out of touch. I mean, I cheer for Charlie Strong, and I'm going to cheer for Les Miles too. But I think one more thing about Texas is it's amazing. I mean, when you think about the creation of the Big 12 in the first place, Texas seems to forget that if it wasn't for Colorado, Nebraska, and Oklahoma saving them from the Southwestern Athletic Conference, when they were a dead program, they were dying to the point to where they were so irrelevant that it took them that upset over Nebraska in the Big 12 title game and Mac Brown that they only started to have a resurgence, and then they became so arrogant that they pushed out Nebraska, they pushed out CU, created a Longhorn Network, pushed out A&M, and now look at the Big 12, now look at Texas, and look at all the teams that left the Big 12. I mean, Oklahoma at some point's got to be looking around going, geez.
Right, I agree. Oklahoma State too. They got to be looking and going, maybe we'll join up with the Big Ten or the SEC ourselves, or jump ship like Colorado and go to the Pac-12. I could see it happening. And like the moves you mentioned that Texas has made, I forgot about the Longhorn Network. That definitely was a big sign of arrogance there on their half.
Yeah, and not sharing the revenue for creating a Big 12 network.
Right.
But anyway,
look at us. All right, it's championship weekend. Let's get into some of these games. Some of them have already been played. Big one last night, obviously. It was a game that I'm sure everybody bandwagon-wise and CU-wise here in the state was definitely tuning in to watch. There wasn't a lot of hope from me that CU was going to win this game, but I thought there was a small chance. What happened last night? Was it just the trenches? Was it the moment too big? 41-10, that's a big disparity there in the level of those teams.
Yeah, it was... I don't think anybody was actually surprised that happened. I think the biggest thing, we've talked about a couple of times about CU in some of the big games like Washington State, where if CU found themselves where they had to make big plays, they weren't going to win.
Right.
And that's kind of what happened last night. I mean, you've got two really good defenses, and I think what you saw is that, especially on the lines, that Washington is bigger and stronger, and that's a big difference. And I think